Welcome to Creepy Narratives. Tonight we delve into a true and chilling tale from the halls of St. Margaret's Hospital. In the heart of this place of healing lies a room shrouded in mystery and tragedy, room 505. Once a normal part of the hospital, it became the center of unexplained occurrences and a story that ended in heartbreak. Join us as we uncover the haunting legacy of room 505, a reminder that some truths are stranger and more frightening than fiction. Let's begin this journey. St. Margaret's Hospital, with its sprawling white facade and grand archways, stood as a beacon of healing and hope in the community. Established in the early 1900s, it had grown from a modest medical facility to a renowned institution. Despite its advancements and modern additions, the original building still housed the older wing, where the architecture spoke of times long past. Tall, narrow windows, high ceilings, and creaking wooden floors gave this part of the hospital a distinct, almost timeless character. Within this older wing, tucked away at the end of a long, dimly lit corridor, was room 505. Unlike the newly renovated rooms that boasted bright lights and polished floors, room 505 held onto the past. Its paint was peeling, the air carried a musty smell, and the single window offered little more than a view of the overgrown hospital garden. This room, with its faded walls and old-fashioned medical equipment, seemed detached from the hustle and bustle of the rest of the hospital. It was this stark contrast that first drew whispers and sideways glances from staff and patients alike. Room 505 felt like a remnant of a different era, a place where the passage of time seemed to slow. Its door, usually shut, became a symbol of the unknown, a gateway to a story that was whispered about but never fully told. It was as if the room itself held on to a history that refused to be forgotten, making its presence known through the uneasy feelings it evoked in those who passed by. The air of mystery surrounding room 505 at St. Margaret's Hospital began to thicken several years ago. It all started with the tragic case of Eliza, a young woman admitted for a routine procedure that, against all odds, ended in sorrow. Her sudden and unexplained passing in that very room set off a series of whispers about a curse that seemed to linger in its corners. In the days and weeks following Eliza's death, staff members began noticing peculiar occurrences confined to room 505. Medical equipment that was routinely checked and found in perfect working order would malfunction without reason. Machines beeped erratically, monitors flickered, and life-saving devices ceased to work at critical moments. It seemed as if the room itself was rejecting the very essence of its purpose. Nurses who worked night shifts spoke of an inexplicable chill that pervaded the room, a coldness that sunk deeper than the skin, touching the very bone. They reported feeling an unseen presence, as if unseen eyes were intently watching their every move. This sensation was often accompanied by the soft rustle of curtains when there was no breeze, or the faint sound of whispering when the room was empty. Patients assigned to room 505 frequently complained of discomfort and unease. They spoke of sleep filled with unsettling dreams, visions of shadowy figures at their bedside, or the feeling of being touched by cold, unseen hands. Many woke up in the middle of the night, their hearts pounding, insisting they had heard their names being called out in hushed, unfamiliar voices. By morning, requests to be moved to another room were common, with some patients refusing to spend another moment in room 505. As these reports grew, the hospital staff began to avoid room 505 unless absolutely necessary. The door to the room was often found mysteriously ajar, and lights would turn on and off on their own. Over time, the story of room 505 evolved from a tragic incident to an enduring legend of the unknown, a chilling reminder of the hospital's shadowed past. Anne, a nurse at St. Margaret's Hospital, was well respected for her rational approach and steady composure, traits that made her an asset, especially during night shifts. However, one particular night, her routine check brought her face to face with the hospital's most unsettling enigma, room 505. The room, known for its chilling tales, had been unoccupied for weeks, and was always kept locked. That night, though, as Anne walked the dimly lit corridor, she noticed the door to room 505 slightly open, a sliver of darkness beckoning from within. Driven by a mix of professional duty and a touch of curiosity, Anne pushed the door open. The air inside was unusually cold, biting at her skin. The room, bathed in moonlight, was engulfed in an eerie stillness, as if it was holding its breath. She took a step forward, her footsteps echoing in the empty space. As Anne reached to close the door behind her, it slammed shut with an abrupt force that made her jump. Heart racing, she rushed to open it, but the doorknob wouldn't budge, as if it had been sealed by an unseen force. Panic began to set in as she realized she was trapped. The temperature in the room plummeted further, turning her breath into visible puffs of air. The overhead lights, which had been a source of comfort, started to flicker wildly, casting long, dancing shadows across the walls. Anne could feel the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. A sense of dread washed over her. Then she heard it, a faint, barely audible whisper, echoing around the room. It was impossible to tell where it was coming from or what it was saying. The whisper seemed to swirl around her, a cold, ghostly presence that she couldn't see but definitely felt. Anne, usually so composed, felt a fear she had never known, a terror that crept into her very soul. This was not the room 505 she had heard of in tales. This was something far more sinister, a room that seemed alive with its haunting past. As Anne stood trapped in the icy grip of room 505, the faint whispers grew louder, surrounding her in a chilling cacophony. Though the words were indistinct, the voices carried a mournful tone, as if lamenting long-lost souls. She spun around, searching for the source, but the room remained eerily empty, save for the flickering shadows cast by the malfunctioning monitors. The equipment, once life-saving tools, now seemed to mock her with their erratic beeps and blinks, adding to the room's sinister ambience. The chill in the room intensified, seeping into her bones. It was a coldness that went beyond mere physical sensation. It felt like it was reaching into her very soul. Anne, though a skeptic at heart, could not deny the visceral fear that gripped her. Her rational mind struggled to make sense of the situation, but the oppressive atmosphere of the room was overwhelming. After what felt like an eternity, the door finally gave way. Anne stumbled out, gasping for breath, her heart pounding. She had escaped the room, but the experience lingered, haunting her thoughts and dreams. The whispers seemed to follow her, echoing in quiet moments, a constant reminder of the terror she had felt. Over the following weeks, Anne found herself increasingly tormented by the memories of that night. The once comforting halls of St. Margaret's now felt oppressive, each shift a reminder of the lurking presence in room 505. Her colleagues noticed the change in her. The once calm and collected nurse now often appeared distant and troubled. The burden of what she had experienced began to take a toll on her mental and emotional well-being. Sleep became elusive, filled with nightmares of shadowy figures and disembodied voices. The once rational explanations she offered herself no longer held any comfort. Tragically, the distress became too much for Anne. In a moment of profound despair, she found herself drawn back to room 505, as if the room itself was calling to her. It was there, in the very room that had been the source of her torment, that Anne took her own life, adding another sorrowful chapter to the legend of room 505. Her passing left her colleagues and the hospital community in shock, further cementing the room's reputation as a place of unexplained and tragic occurrences. In the wake of the tragic events that culminated in Anne's death, the administration of St. Margaret's Hospital made the somber decision to permanently seal off room 505. The door was locked, and a sign was placed stating the room was not to be used. Anne's harrowing experience and ultimate fate cast a long, dark shadow over the room's already troubled history, adding a deeply personal and poignant aspect to the lore surrounding it. The hospital continued its daily operations, treating patients and saving lives, but the story of Room 505 became an indelible part of its identity. Among the staff, whispers about the room persisted, with some claiming to hear faint echoes of whispers or see fleeting shadows near the sealed door. It stood as a grim reminder of the unseen forces and unexplained phenomena that sometimes intersect with our world. For the patients and staff of St. Margaret's S, Room 505 was more than just an unused room. It was a symbol of the unknown, a place where the boundary between the tangible world and the mysteries beyond seemed to blur. The legend of the room lived on, a silent testament to the enigmatic and often tragic stories that linger in forgotten corners of old buildings. Thank you for joining us on Creepy Narratives as we ventured through the haunted history of Room 505 at St. Margaret's Hospital. If this story sent chills down your spine, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more true tales that teeter on the edge of the supernatural. Stay curious, stay cautious, and keep the lights on. Until next time, when we unearth another dark tale from the shadows of the unknown.